Are you really going to tell me that the Colorado team whose quarterback is bleeding in halftime from bad areas on his body because his offensive line can't do crap to protect him is going to just stop these corn-fed, hay boil throwing Midwestern North Dakota State defensive linemen? You have absolutely got to be kidding me.
Welcome to the official podcast of FCS Fans Nation with your hosts Kyler Neal, Matthew Frazee, and Jamie Williams.
FCS Fans Nation. The trio is back. Kyler, Jamie, Matt in the house. New backgrounds, new arenas, new episode of the FCS Fans Nation podcast, Season 8, Episode 2. We are back. We're going to try to follow up Mr. Jamie Williams' outstanding ranking of every FCS team, which was blowing up the internet over the last week. Thank you so much for joining us on the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Before we get going, I just have to say, Kyler, people get to see you again. They're pumped. They missed you last week. They missed you.
No, they didn't. No one missed anything. You guys absolutely crushed it. Jamie, I still don't understand how you do 127 teams every single year, 130, depending on the season. I don't want to do more than 6. So, I got my top 6. Everyone else can suck it. I don't want to do any more than that.
That works too.
I'm back, baby.
He's back. You're gonna need to memorize at least 16 teams based off the seeds this year, Kyler, at a minimum. Maybe 8 more beyond that. So before we get things rolling, guys, here as we're heading into week 0 and week 1, a little bit of housekeeping just to let everybody know that this episode here will take us through this weekend and next weekend. Unfortunately, in a very rare moment, real life is going to hit all 3 of us next weekend right before. So we're going to cover tonight week 0 and week 1. So we're sorry next Monday. You're probably not going to get anything from us, but this episode should suffice, which would be great. And before we kick into things for the evening, as you've been hearing about this whole FCS Gold thing, just a quick shout out. We kind of slowly rolled out this FCS Gold, which is 99 cents a month for you to be part of our playoff challenges, part of our bracket challenges to win $50 Visa gift cards, private page access, guaranteed questions. Those people are listening to an ad-free episode right now, not on YouTube, through Patreon. Pretty cool. Quick shout out to Lee, Scott, Joe, Kyler, Cody, Logan, Liam, Kennedy, Yoshi, Cody, Josh, Ryland, Tim, Scott, David, Mike, Chase, Eric, Josh, Gavin, Dakota, Sweaty, Butcher, which is a sweet name, Zach, Patrick, Ethan, and Ryan, Frank, Steve, and Chris James. Holy, those are all the individuals who've already stepped up to join FCS Gold. And we're going to be putting promos out for it. You're probably going to be hearing a lot from those individuals and some specials we've got coming up throughout the season. So thank you so much for the support to those individuals. We're excited to take that little monthly subscription and pump it right back to you with some merch giveaways and some fun contests. So join FCS Gold. The description is in the link of this YouTube video below. Beyond that, guys, I think it's time that we get things going. Enough about the promos and everything else. Let's get right into the FCS topics because we got football right around the corner. FCS Fans Nation, if you love the FCS community as much as we do, then it's time to be part of the elite community for die-hard FCS fans. Welcome to FCS Gold. I'm sure you're listening to our podcast on YouTube. FCS Gold gives you access to our podcast ad-free from YouTube ads and free from the ad you're listening to right now. FCS Gold membership also gives you access to our Pick'em and Playoff Bracket challenges, which give you a chance to win $50 Visa gift cards. You also get guaranteed questions on the podcast, elite game threads, and a private Facebook page just for you, the admins, and other Elite Gold members. You need to be a member to gain all these great perks, and it's only 99 cents a month. You can join me, Kyler, Jamie, and other elite fans now by using the link in the comment section of YouTube or finding the link on our Facebook and Twitter pages. It's your guys' passion and support that makes this whole thing possible. Come join FCS Gold today. Boom.
What are FCS fans talking and posting about nonstop? It's time for the top 6 topics. of the week.
Ooh, switching it up a little bit. Okay. You're going to notice some formatting changes here, gents. To start with, it's not the big 7 anymore. We've got the top 6 topics of the week. Give ourselves a little bit more time and not feel so rushed to discuss some of these big time questions, okay? So, new intro, new me, new top 6. And we're going to start things off right away. Why would we not? We've got our background tonight for those watching on YouTube of probably the most well-known FCS upset of all time over the FBS. App State going into the big house, blocking a field goal. And Logan Trebasser and Brandon Anderson, Logan, one of our FCS Gold members, says, what's the more likely scenario? NDSU beats Colorado or SDSU covers the points against Oklahoma State? This is a great question to kick it off, of course, because, hey, hate to admit it, but the Dakota schools are still the top ones beyond the Montanas, and everybody wants to know they both have an FBS opponent. How could this affect these teams moving forward? So I'll just give it to you right away, Kyler, since you're back with us. What's the more likely scenario out of these two? What do you feel about these matchups coming up for both of these teams?
The pressure for the first bad take of the season. Let's go. I mean, what's the spread?
9.
Do you even know what the spread is? 9?
9.
Okay.
Right. Last I looked, it was Oklahoma State 9.
Okay. What's the spread? I know this isn't a part of the question, but of the Colorado, it's what? Probably 3?
It was like 8.5 that I last saw, but that
it was pretty close to 9 again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're both around 9.
So, I mean, I'm going to be a little bit of I don't really follow Oklahoma State at all. I know they were a top 20 team last year, even though I don't think they should have been. They had some pretty embarrassing losses in some competitive games. They were competitive against Central Arkansas. They had a blowout loss to one of Jamie's teams, Southern Miss or something like that. It was like a 30.
South Alabama,
Southern Miss, same thing.
Pretty much.
But it was a horrible loss. And then, they beat Oklahoma. But, of course, that's a rivalry game. So they got ranked, I think, kind of prematurely because they had some weird, interesting seasons. But Oklahoma State is a good team. In Colorado, they were a horrible team last year, but they do at least have tons of talent. So it's one of those things where sometimes a really talented roster can just make it really impossible for an FCS team to battle against, even if maybe they're not the best coach team or they don't have the best scheme, especially against, other top tier Power 4 programs. So this is interesting because SDSU lost a lot too. That's where but they still return a lot. Their depth is crazy. And then NDSU just seems like has a lot of firepower, and that's a sexy upset where a lot of people are picking NDSU. I've even gone on the chat boards when you're looking at, Colorado fans go, no, this FCS team, no one's going to, they're not even going to be competitive. Then you see some of the other Colorado fans or some just FBS fans go, this is not your normal FCS team. This is North Dakota State. They've dominated everyone they've played at the FBS level outside of Arizona. So this is intriguing because, again, can North Dakota State keep up with the athleticism of Colorado, who is extremely fast, extremely athletic, but not the best coach team? And then just can South Dakota State be competitive against Oklahoma State like Central Arkansas did last year? So, this is tough. I'm going to go with probably all right, I'm going to piss off a lot of people. I don't think either is going to happen. I don't think NDSU is going to beat Colorado, even though probably Colorado is going to suck again. I think just that athleticism is going to kind of showcase because NDSU did struggle against, some athletic teams last year at the FCS level. And they did struggle against a rebuilding Arizona team that was solid, but didn't have the athletes that Colorado has right now. Better team than Colorado, but not the same athletes. That is a different distinction that I'm trying to throw out there. So, and then I think Oklahoma State's not going to take SDSU lightly, like maybe they took Central Arkansas a little lightly. So I think neither happens. I'm sorry, FCS Fans Nation. I am a Debbie Downer already.
Jamie, is Kyler the just being a hater tonight? I mean, you're up in the FBS level for your beloved Duke. So any love for these FCS squads? I mean, what do we see here?
I was sure that Kyler and I were going to disagree on this one for sure, but we don't. I just don't see it. I don't think that NDSU is going to be able to keep up with Colorado eventually. I'm said it before. I'm a little nervous about how North Dakota State's offense comes back this year. I think the defense will be fine. I mean, it'll be what you expect. Maybe not to that great level of the previous, few years before the last few, but still a good defense. But I don't know that they've got the offense. And I think the one thing Colorado can do is move the ball. Again, the college said exactly. They're not a greatly coached team, but I think the athleticism there is going to be enough. And 9.5 points, you just put it up there. I don't know if the line moved or if I just had it wrong, but either way, it's not that I was that far off. A lot of people want to say last year's Oklahoma State, and if this game was last year, they would have stayed within that 9.5. I just don't see it. And Jackrabbit fans, I know you still bring back a lot. You've got Amar Johnson, you've got Griffin Wild, you still have Mark Gronowski. I understand. And y'all will hang for a while, but I just don't see it. I think both games are double-digit games, maybe close at halftime, but I don't see either team kind of making that big a dent. I would love to see both of them, give them a hell of a game. Anything to humble Deion Sanders a little bit would be great, but love the guy as a player, but as a coach, he's just a great recruiter, not a great coach. I just don't see it either way.
Now, before Matt chimes in, can I ask you a question, Jamie?
Yeah.
Would you be shocked if any of it did happen? Because I wouldn't be shocked if NDSU actually came in and won. I'm just giving NDSU probably a 30% chance, and I would not be shocked if South Dakota State got competitive and it was like another 3-point game, like we've seen a lot of these, Big Ten, the maybe not as high pass flying offenses from the Big 10 or Big 12 teams whenever they face a Valley team or an FCS team. Sometimes it doesn't just get out of reach. So I wouldn't be shocked. But
I definitely wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, I definitely think that, lightning can strike anywhere. I mean, look at the scoreboard behind Matt. To be that Matt posted up there, Michigan and App State, that kind of set the tone. We weren't supposed to beat Virginia Tech. It happens. I wouldn't be surprised. I just don't see it. I can't even answer the question, what's more likely? I think more likely might be SDSU to stay within 9 than the issue to win that game. I mean, you tell me you're going to give South Dakota State 9.5 if they've got to keep it in single digits. That's the more likely scenario to answer the actual question.
Man, haters everywhere about the Dakotas. This is absolutely ridiculous. Don't worry, FCS fans. I've got you covered here. Are you really going to tell me that the Colorado team whose quarterback is bleeding in halftime from bad areas on his body because his offensive line can't do crap to protect him is going to just stop these corn-fed, hay bale throwing Midwestern North Dakota State defensive linemen? You have absolutely got to be kidding me. I hope he's ready to make moves and plays. This is ridiculous to me. Okay, first off, I do think it is more likely that SDSU covers the points against Oklahoma State than NDSU beats Colorado. And here's why. Buckle up, SDSU fans. Right now, you're like, yay, and I'm about to take you way down. I don't think Oklahoma State knows who South Dakota State is. They haven't put a lot of guys in the league. They've just won 2 championships. Big deal in the FCS, according to probably how FBS fans think. NDSU has way more brand awareness, has way more on Deion Sanders' radar from his time in Jacksonville State, and has way more trash talk in terms of what him and his players may be seen on the internet, in the social, about like, ooh, NDSU over Colorado. I think Oklahoma State could come in here just like Central Arkansas and not expect SDSU, and SDSU could give them a good game just like they did with Iowa, where that was like 7-3, right? You're talking like a 4-point game. Not saying SDSU is going to win, but I think Oklahoma State could easily look past SDSU because they're not as hot. It's not as much of a story. Like Deion Sanders and Jacksonville State will know North Dakota State because of his time at JSU. Heck, he took the whole JSU roster up there. And I think that's a negative for North Dakota State, where I think Oklahoma State could just be like, here's the warm-up game, and SDSU could come out hot and firing. Now, I will say this about NDSU and Colorado, is Tim Polasek capable of flipping it based off his coaching, right? Because Matt Entz got a lot of unfair hate about how, the D-line's not the same, and now the players don't tackle as well, and yada, 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 right? Well, there's a lot of returning starters here for North Dakota State, especially on the defense. The offense is going to have some really, really hot young guns at running back. I think there's great quality at tight end. I think NDSU, if they play the Craig Bowl style, which is exactly what Tim Pulisick's bringing back, if they bring that style, I think they can upset Colorado. But I do believe that South Dakota State has a better chance to cover the points against Oklahoma State because of the mental psyche. Also, never doubt the heart of a champion and exactly where South Dakota State is in terms of what it's bringing back, the depth, the Amar Johnsons that can fill in for the big players that were lost. I just think that both these Dakota schools have opportunities to make magic. And I can't wait till Craig Haley, Sam Herder, and all these big guns are tweeting, well, not really a shock, but at halftime, SDSU only trails 3 to Oklahoma State. Oh, NDSU in the first quarter just took the lead. I'm telling you, I just got a feeling these Dakota schools are going to show up. So I don't know. I disagree. Most likely SDSU covers, but I think we're going to see some pretty cool things. And that is unbiased take as you're going to get. That's totally unbiased.
Yeah. Oh, hey, they don't know who South Dakota State is. The coach literally prepped the team going, you guys have heard of North Dakota State, right? Well, this team keeps murdering them. So you're wrong.
That makes my point. You guys have heard of North Dakota State, right?
Yeah. And this team murders them. So North Dakota State's a joke. I mean, that's how he's getting the team fed up.
Oh, man. The Jackrabbit fans are going to come for my head because they're going to be like, I don't know if I'm supposed to hate him for this take or love him, but I did not like what he just said. So.
The Bison's turning into Ferris State.
Okay, so we don't have our predictions at the end of the pod like we've been doing. Again, we're doing some format changes. So upset for either of these teams. NDSU or SDSU, do you see a victory, Jamie?
No.
How about you, Kyler?
I see it, but I'm not betting on it. I would say no.
All right. I'll take one of them to win. We'll see. One upset. All right, guys, moving into Patrick Firks, our amazing Eastern Washington and FCS Gold member. Of course, FCS Gold individuals get their questions guaranteed on this podcast. What week 0 game has the biggest national impact? What team's playoff chances will die week 0? Okay, there's not a lot for week 0 in the FCS. I think you're looking at Delaware State going to Hawaii, and we have one game, which we're definitely going to be talking about in the quick hits a little bit. We can dig into it now, which is Montana State taking on New Mexico State. Am I correct on that? Okay.
Just New Mexico.
Okay.
It's the Lobos. Yeah, I think it's the Lobos, not the. Yeah, it's the Lobos.
Jamie, tell me a little bit about this Lobos Montana State thing in terms of the national impact this could have if Montana State wins, because everybody is just claiming this is a shoo-in for Montana State.
They're a 9-point favorite. They better win. If they don't win, then we've got some problems. It's kind of like, you guys were expected to go in and beat Iowa State when you did. Iowa, no. Kansas State, maybe not. But, you should go in and beat Iowa State, and you did. South Dakota State was supposed to go beat Colorado State, and they did. We were supposed to go beat East Carolina. We did. Montana State now has to go beat New Mexico. They're a 9-point favorite. Like, that's not even just a field goal. That's an expected crush game, basically, at this point. Now, I don't know. To me, that's not the game with the biggest national impact from an FCS standpoint. To me, it's the Tarleton-McNeese State game up at Tarleton, because I think both of these teams think they're ready to take that step to the playoffs. I think Tarleton is way closer than McNeese, but McNeese, and if you listen to anything I said in the rankings video, or if you were able to listen to the premiere episode of the Southline Sermon with the Rev that I was on, McNeese has probably the best set of linebackers in that conference, and they have a top 5 to 10 linebacking core in the country. Micah Davey is the headliner there, but their whole linebacker core is solid. And they did get Clifton McDowell out of the portal after he went to Temple and then went there. So Clifton McDowell's been to 26 schools in 3 years. So, but he's going to play for McNeese this year. So they should be improved. I mean, it's hard to not improve off of a 0-win season, because their only win was the forfeit win against Northwestern State. I think that team has a chance to be a little bit better, and I probably overranked them, to be honest. I ranked them at 76 for a team that didn't win a game last year, because I believe in the linebackers, and I think the improvement at quarterback will help them. But I still think Tarleton is in early games in the season, the team returning a lot of players is a good thing, and that's what Tarleton does. They weren't hit by the portal. They didn't have to go grab a bunch of guys from the portal. So I think Tarleton takes that game and kind of puts themselves a little bit on the radar as a team to watch this year. We'll see how it progresses through the season as other teams gel and they face up against the Central Arkansas, the Southern Utahs, the Eastern Kentucky's in their own conference. But for this week, that's a big game. And the playoff chances that'll die, whoever loses this game, to be honest.
That's actually sick that in week 0, like I read Patrick's question. I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to die, but that's actually interesting that could have that much impact. Kyler, what do you think?
I actually don't think their playoff chances die with this game. The reason why is, McNeese, the Southland has been pretty weak, right? And of course, Incarnate Word looks strong. Lamar looks like they're building something a little bit. But at the end of the day, all you have to do is win that conference, and it was a cluster last year, right? We still didn't know who was going to win the conference until the last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks till. So McNeese does have the talent to still win that conference. Now, they've been bad the last few years. After that hurricane hit and kind of destroyed their campus a little bit, it seems like they've taken quite a bit of steps back. But this is still one of those not quite a blue blood. This is one of those historic teams down in the southern region who has always been competitive, who's always been good, who's always been in the playoff hunt every single preseason. And, they're down. Then you have Tarleton, who they have a shot. If the hype is real, they could win the UAC. Tarleton's in the UAC, right?
Yep.
I was going to say, this has been a long off season. So, they have a shot to win, the UAC. We have, of course, Central Arkansas, who's everyone's favorite, but they haven't done as much as what, Jamie and I have had these conversations. They haven't done as much as we'd hoped for. And Tarleton, they're getting preseason love, right? So there's a chance they can still win their conference. So I'm going to say that one is probably not dead in the water. I do think it's got the biggest national impact because it's, McNeese. Either they're going to try and stir stuff up and become the McNeese of the past, and Tarleton's this new dog who wants to kind of eat right away. But I like the North Alabama versus, SEMO game in terms of what teams' playoff chances die. So SEMO used to be just a solid team. They were going to be in the playoffs every single year or at least get competitive with Jacksonville State and the Ohio Valley. Then you have North Alabama, who is this powerhouse D2, who they've really struggled after they've moved up. They have not been very competitive. But every year we're just waiting to see, hey, are they finally going to take that next step? Are they finally going to be the North Alabama that we were hoping for? And I think this is a perfect game. It's, in Montgomery, so it's in Alabama. It's probably going to be with more North Alabama fans. Maybe whoever wins this game, maybe it sets up some momentum to where maybe they at least have a shot in their conference. I don't really think any of these teams are going to be getting at-large bids outside of potentially Tarleton. So if Tarleton season goes right. So I think, I would take the loser of the North Alabama, Southeastern Missouri games probably out in the cold. And then I do just want to touch on that Montana State, New Mexico game because, Jamie, you're right. This doesn't really have any impact because it's also like a wash. If Montana State loses, everyone's just going to say, oh, it was an FBS team. But this is one of those ones where they are 100% favored. Even Eastern was favored against, UNLV. You got to win those games. Again, if you lose, it is what it is. It's not going to hurt your playoff resume, even though maybe it should. Maybe this should be a game where if you're flirting with that 8 seed, and I guess there's 16 now, but if you're flirting with that 8 seed, you want one extra home game. This is probably one where I would view and go, this is an FCS game. I get it's FBS on paper, but this is an FCS game. Anytime you're playing a Conference USA team that's maybe not Liberty or a MAC team, in my eyes, it is 100% an FCS versus FCS team. So Montana State, you got to win that game. But I like that for the playoff guys. That North Alabama's Southeastern. Then for the impact, I like the McNeese Tarleton.
Yeah, just a couple of other points. The good thing for SEMO is they do have Paxton DeLaurent back at quarterback, so that'll help. But to your point about Montana State, New Mexico, Kyler, generally it shouldn't hurt to lose to an FBS team, but when you're favored, to me, that perspective, it should matter. If South Dakota State, North Dakota State both lose, then I don't plan to move them at all. Maybe maybe a tick here or there, depending on what happens around the country. But if Montana State loses to New Mexico, I don't know that they're the number 4 team.
This is the same spread as that South Dakota State versus Oklahoma State game. So this is that same type of upset we're talking about. If New Mexico wins, that's the same caliber as SDSU beating Oklahoma State. That's pretty wild.
Crazy. Well, I just cannot believe, Patrick, heck of a question. I'm glad I put it in the top 6 topics because I never in a million years, I didn't dive into this question as much as I should have because I honestly thought it would be kind of a bypass, but holy moly, the national impacts in week 0 are already that big. And I think that's really sweet. So good thing you've got smart people like Kyler and Jamie on this podcast. Thank goodness. So very cool. Thank you, Patrick, for your question, of course. Guys, Kyler Elliott, what sub 500 team from the 2023-2024 season do you think is going to get over the hump this season and potentially get an at-large bid? Okay, so I will share on the screen here. Of course, if you guys are watching on YouTube, I hope we don't get copyright infringement. I'm just going to pull up something. Maybe this will show a few teams. This is some random FCS YouTube video. Somebody ranked all the FCS teams. Yeah, I don't know what this is.
Some idiot in a Montana shirt.
Yeah, so it looks like a Grizz fan and some scrawny North Dakota kid. That being said, what do you think, Jamie? I have to start with you because I give Kyler a little bit of a breather here. These are your teams, your rankings, but of those that are sub 500, who could potentially get that at-large bid? I hated this question, Jamie, because I saw like Lamar and I saw like who was my other one I was looking into?
Lamar was 6-5 last year.
Yeah, 6-5 teams, but he says sub 500. I wanted to go with Portland State, and then I looked at Portland's. Portland State was 5-6 last year, and then I looked at their schedule, and I was like, Idaho, Montana, FBS, like it is brutal. So, yeah, I kind of I'm at a loss right now with this one. So, what do you think?
Well, the team I have in mind is actually on the screen that you put up, so that's pretty solid. As you know, the Southern Conference is always weird. So the first thing I did was kind of look through the teams that didn't finish above 500 last year, because obviously that's the question. And the one that popped in my head has a new head coach, and that coach brought a ton of transfers with him. And yes, he brought him from a lesser team. But I'm going to look at East Tennessee State. Something always pops in the SoCon. Trey Lamb's a good coach. Somebody in the SoCon is going to go from the bottom third to threatening for a playoff berth, and the SoCon's really strong this year. So if East Tennessee State kind of can fight for that top tier, they're a team that would have a chance. When I look through, looking at the teams that actually had 5-6 or worse records last year, and that was the key. You find a bunch of teams like Lamar that were 6-5. Southern Utah was 6-5. Teams like that, and you're like, oh, they don't count for this question, because those would be kind of easy answers. So I kind of went off the board a little bit, and that's where I came up with East Tennessee State. I think with the new coach, they brought in a bunch of transfers that know his system, the way he coaches and all that stuff, and a good coach. And this team wasn't bad just a couple of years ago. I know they've got all kinds of turnover, but a lot of teams do. So will it happen? I doubt it. I wouldn't bet on it, but I'll take them.
Yeah, not a bad pick. Kyler, you got anybody sticking out there that was sub 500 last year that you've got faith in going into this season?
I mean, Kyler asking Kyler a question, it has to just be one team, right? Does it look like someone threw up behind me? No, I'm actually not going to go Eastern, even though I do think.
Come on.
I've
got him at 39.
I was going to say, I think out of a lot of 5-6 teams, if the scrimmage looks pretty good, I'm a little bit excited about what's going to happen. But I don't want to cop out answer. I think the easy one that maybe you guys missed is St. Francis. I think they can actually win their conference. They were 5-6 last year, and they returned their coach who's been there for 14 years. Offensive coordinator's been there long time as well. But here's the games, some of the games they lost, right? Delaware, of course, they got murdered by Delaware, so who cares? But Sacred Heart, they lost only by 3. Duquesne, they lost only by 3. LIU, they lost only by 1, and they were just right below, the top dog. They were number 2 in their conference. So I don't know who Duquesne returns. I don't know who they lost. I'm going to be honest, because I don't really pay attention to these one big leads as much as I should. So just being transparent there. But if you're looking at maybe a 5-6 team who's just on the cusp of winning their conference and who's actually competitive with the other top teams in the conference and just got beat at the last kind of second in competitive games, I mean, St. Francis is looking kind of good, but I wouldn't put money on them, but they're looking kind of good.
No, that's solid. That's solid. They had some guys a couple of years ago that were really good. They made the playoffs.
Yeah.
If that's the game I'm thinking about, that the game against Duquesne was the last week or two of the season. It was kind of for the conference, and Duquesne pulled it out of their rear end at the last bit. If I remember that game correctly, if that's the one I'm thinking of that I was watching.
Yeah, I mean, it was 35-38. It was a
the
close
game.
one.
Yeah, that's the game I was thinking of.
Very cool. Well, if you want that NEC insight, by the way, Omar on Twitter, he's one of the guys who writes for all these NEC articles. We're constantly retweeting his stuff. So he on Twitter is the Burger Popper, I believe is how it is, Pauper. But he's constantly writing the NEC articles. They're fun to dive into a little bit, but good picks for both of you. All right, we'll have to see how your sub 500 teams play out here as we move.
Now pick Eastern, season. You coward.
I will pick Eastern Washington because they have better brand awareness. They've got better brand 100%. Awareness, and that is why
that's all that matters.
So
that's all that matters.
That's all
baby.
that it is. Yep.
That's right.
Just straight facts. Speaking of straight facts, someone who is just straight up awesome is an FCS Gold member, Mr. Joe Gass, who, by the way, his team Delaware is going to the FBS, and he's like, you know what? You guys rock. I'm still going to be part of the crew. So, Joe, you're definitely going to be here on the big questions. And I love this question because he says it's way too early, but who is your dark horse pick to get a seed? And if you're not paying attention, here's some breaking news for you. There are 16 seeds this year in the FCS playoffs, thank goodness. So this isn't just like who's going to crack the top 8 on an easier schedule and just get that 7 seed and get murdered in round 2. This is like you lost 3-4 games and you might still be the 15th or 16th seed, which is bonkers. So, Kyler, when you look across the landscape of the FCS with a whole new format, who is a dark horse to get a top 16 seed?
I like this pick of mine. And will it happen now? Because I'm about to say it, probably not. But I like Western Carolina. I think that is a solid team with a solid offense. In my opinion, they have probably, which is pretty wild to even imagine this. I mean, I remember Jamie, right after the season was like, who is the, best player who's not getting talked about? And it's Cole, right? It's Mr. Gonzalez himself. So I do think Western Carolina has a top 3 quarterback in this league. And they have a phenomenal offense. Of course, they need to clean up the defensive side of the ball, but the SoCon's going to SoCon, and I think they're one of the more talented rosters in the SoCon. So they were just outside. I was going to say just outside, a seed last year, basically, if they were ranked, number 20. I think they'll sneak up and maybe be able to upset a Chattanooga who's ranked above, or, maybe a Furman. I think there's definitely a possibility. And I'd love to see, potentially 3 SoCon teams in the top 16. So I'm picking Western Carolina.
Wow, SoCon. You guys are giving them a ton of love. Jamie, you know these teams like the back of your hand. Who's one that you would love to throw up in that top 16 seed range?
Well, since Kyler took my answer,
Way to go, Kyler.
I'll go with my second answer. And I said, Matt, a couple weeks ago when we did the other episode, that I'm tired of doubting this team. So, and it's not Northern Iowa. Elon. I think Elon is going to have that no-fly zone defense. So you're not going to be able to pass on them. So you're going to have to try to run the ball. And Tony Trisciani's team has always run the ball, stop the run well. So I think that's going to be one of the top few defenses, if not in the CAA, in the whole entire FCS. And they've got a receiver, Chandler Brayboy, that you're going to want to keep your eye on. He's going to be really good. He's going to break some games for them. So I think Elon has a sneaky chance to be good. I think I got them at 25. But they're going to challenge the Villanova, the Richmond, the William & Mary up in the CAA, and they've got a shot to get up to the top 16. So we'll see how the CAA shakes out. If that's a stats poll, that they're 26th, so right there. But that's a team to watch out for. And remember what I said about Western Carolina. I said outside of Mark Gronowski, they've got the best quarterback in the FCS.
Agreed.
Very cool. I cannot believe I'm going to say this, and I think they could be an absolute disaster. I've got 2 answers here.
You're going to say
Fighting Hawks. Now he's going to say North Dakota, and that's why he's mad
I
at
can't believe
himself
I'm going to say this. I think their season could be an absolute disaster, but UND, oh, God bless them. They're going to lose to Iowa State to start the year, but then they host Montana the next week. They're playing the Grizz, and I don't know what it is about UND at home that turns them into Tom Brady's Patriots in New England, in Boston. I don't know what it is, how they go on the road and then turn into a complete dumpster fire. But maybe if UND can win that game, and then it's hosting Idaho State, hosting San Diego, hosting Murray State. Just play that one out at least. What if UND upsets Montana and starts 4-1 and then loses 2, maybe 3 conference games? Like they have 3 losses, 4. They could get that 16 seed maybe. They might just be with that big win, because this is going to be hard to determine, right? We've all been in the mindset of top 8 seed. We've done the mock playoff every year. You're going to have to go into a whole new mindset of seeding. It's almost like last 4 in mentality with the 24 teams in the playoff field. And if you get one big, holy crap, Montana had 2 losses and one of them was UND and they finished 7-4. Possibly the Fighting Hawks could be that seed. And the other one, kind of an unknown team. I can't believe, and maybe Kyler's just being quiet. How can you not think Eastern Washington couldn't pull this off? Absolutely. And he's got all the insights to all this. But I mean, Monmouth start the year, you're hosting. Drake, you're starting the year, you're hosting. Then you're going to play Southern Louisiana, which is not doing too well. I guess.
Yeah, y'all play a trash schedule. I wish I would schedule somebody.
Nevada.
It's about time, baby. I'm so excited to have the week scheduled. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is a first.
Yeah, FBS Nevada. You got to go to an easier FBS.
Who?
And then you have the Grizz are coming to the Inferno. UC Davis coming to the Inferno. Montana State coming to the Inferno.
Yeah.
Northern Colorado, Northern Arizona, Idaho State.
Who?
I mean, that is a team.
Did I hear an owl?
That could definitely be a seed. So, I hate Eastern Washington more than anybody. And that's number one hate. And then it's UND after that,
100%.
of course. I just want to clip that part and send it to Kelsey. But I think those are 2 teams that absolutely could pull it off. So I don't know. What do you think, Kyler? You think I'm crazy here or no?
I would say you're not crazy, but until they actually put things together on the field and maybe don't have a bottom 5 rushing defense in all of the FCS, it's pretty hard to say that they're going to be a seed. I mean, they brought in a lot of transfers that are going to make immediate impacts. They do by far have the easiest out-of-conference schedule I've ever seen my team play, and which is wild because it's still a CAA team. It's still a team that's been in the playoffs quite a bit. And then it's an FBS team, but this is still the easiest schedule I have seen us play in a long time. So I'm excited, but we've been so bad the last few years. I would say pump the brakes because, they're already getting some preseason receiving votes. I think that's a little, too early. I don't think you should be. Win. I know. Well, he's not the only one, right? Because there's 14 points. So I would say, until about week 4, they shouldn't be receiving anything, depending on how they play in the first 4 weeks.
Man, you're so unbiased. You're the best. Just such an unbiased fan.
But really they're going to smack cakes when they play Drake finally.
Just finally excited about some of these easy wins like the CAA gets. Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah, the CAA is trash.
All right, guys. Speaking of trash. Here we go. Give your top 2 games in week 0 or week 1 for FCS teams. Now, Kyle was amazing. Kyle Horoff, who asked this question, said, give me your top 10 games in week 0 and week 1. So I'm looking for everybody here's top 2, which will get us pretty darn close to his overall 10. So Kyle, appreciate the question, of course. He wants to let's get the top 2 games. This is week 0 or week 1. So, of course, if you're watching on the YouTube, I'm going to be pulling up the schedule here, and we'll see what everybody's looking forward to. First things first, are you looking into, Jamie, are you looking at these games thinking FBS versus FCS, or are you right off the bat thinking, hey, it doesn't matter, I just want to see good football? Where does your mind go for top 2 games for the first 2 weeks?
I mean, to start the thought process for this question, I was thinking about FCS for FCS games. I've got one that's going to be an interesting game, and it's actually the last game played of the weekend because it's going to be played of week 1 on Sunday the 1st. North Carolina Central, Alabama State being played at Hard Rock Stadium. Carolina Central, awesome team, made the playoffs last year, and Alabama State is a team picked to finish very high in the SWAC, actually win their division. From what I understand, their defense is going to be really, really tough. So I'm really interested in that game. And then if you're looking at another one that's just, I'm kind of looking for teams that are evenly matched that might have some implication. And I want to see Holy Cross, Rhode Island. Did Rhode Island get off to a good start to try to finally make the playoffs? How does Holy Cross look after their coach went and moved on and they've got a new coach, new quarterback? So there's a lot of turnover at Holy Cross. How are they going to look? So those are a couple of the games that really intrigued me outside of the ones we've already talked about. I'm really interested in McNeese, Tarleton. So there's 3. Get you closer to that 10.
You're just helping Kyle get to the true answer. I'm probably going to steal one of Kyler's here, so maybe we should just try to get the 10 together. But you promoted it so much on the last podcast, Jamie. It's the only reason I know it. That Youngstown State at Villanova in week 1. Holy moly. I mean, come on. That's one of the big ones. These teams have hype. Villanova, of course, big time top 10 hype, right? And then Youngstown State is supposed to be a lot better, more improved. And they had a good season last year. That is a big one right off the bat. I mean, when you get 16 seeds, there's a big difference between seed number 10 and number 4, obviously. And I think that one already will have early implications for long-term payouts. So
big time.
That's going to be a big game moving forward. Kyler, which ones are you kind of looking at? What are games you've been looking to enjoy, I guess?
Well, you definitely took mine. I was going to say Holy Cross and then this, Youngstown State game. I think those are actually pretty dang intriguing. But let's go a completely different direction. Stephen F. Austin versus North American. The main reason is, didn't they already beat North American by like 107?
Just a few years ago. Was that the 98-0 game?
Was that, the Rev? Let us know. I'm trying to think in the top of my head if that was that North American team, because North American, we were all giving them that vibe of who was that fake team that popped up? We all thought it was that fake team again that made waves, but obviously it's not. It's a real college. It's just an interesting one. So I wanted to troll SFA a little bit. I mean, I'll be a homer right now. The Monmouth Eastern game, there's not a lot of fun games in week 1, but having a Big Sky versus CA matchup is kind of fun to watch. And you can see, is Monmouth, they were this Big South power for a while. Now they went into the CA and they were middle of the road. Eastern's been a dumpster fire the last 2 years, one of the worst in the Big Sky. Is Eastern going to climb its way back up? Can Monmouth travel all the way to, the whole opposite side of the country? Or are they going to be potentially this, CA powerhouse? So that's one of them. The other one that I want to see is St. Francis versus, who are they playing? Like Drake or Butler? The main reason is these are 2 of the worst conferences, right? The NEC and the Pioneer League. So maybe we can see Dayton was, I think, one of the top teams in the Pioneer League last year, if I remember. And St. Francis was one of the top teams in the NEC. Are we going to see maybe which one is the better conference? I mean, they're both horrible. One doesn't have scholarships. The other one's just dog crap. So are we going to be able to see which one can maybe come out with a win, since you actually took my 2 games and I didn't do enough research on the rest? You bastards.
It was actually Warner College out of Florida that SFA beat 98-0.
Oh, same thing. That's just North American's cousin.
Yeah, I think it is.
So, no, I actually also want to see potentially that Sacramento State versus San Jose State. Now, San Jose State's getting better, but Sacramento State, I mean, they beat Stanford last year, 2 years ago. They've had this FBS upset alert, and everyone keeps doubting them every single year, but they keep playing well. They keep making the playoffs. So is this one of those games where maybe we can see an FBS upset? I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe the picks right there. There's a lot of intrigue in week 0 and week 1 in terms of where things are going to go. And I'll just do a blitzkrieg maybe to get Kyle to where we need to get him. Let's look at Eastern Illinois at Illinois. Are they going to win the game? No. But Eastern Illinois, which is a team that has quietly, Jamie and others have talked about, is a team that has gained some respect within the FCS community from where they've been 2-3 years ago. And I believe, I got it right here, 139 votes were cast their way within the official stats top 25 vote. So I'm not saying they're going to go beat Illinois, but what kind of product is going to be out there that we're going to see of Eastern Illinois in comparison to what we've been used to from that Jimmy Garoppolo, Tony Romo alumni school? And one more kind of a fun one, almost like what Kyler did. Gardner Webb got destroyed by the portal, right? All their players destroyed again. Yeah, they went to ETSU because when Mr. Lamb hopped with the coaching move. So Wofford, who was the team that doomed Furman, right, with the seeding, they beat Furman the last week, and Wofford had like 2 wins. So we have this terrible Wofford team from last year going against this team that's been gutted by the portal. So if you want intrigue, here's 2 teams that should be awful, and I guess we'll see how it goes.
What about Central Arkansas versus Arkansas State, right? It's always those like in-state kind of rivalries where it's a little brother playing potentially a little even smaller brother, right? No one cares about those 2 teams in that state outside of us. I love the Stripes. I beat them in our FCS Fans Nation NCAA today. So thank you for playing me, buddy. I beat you. Efton Chisholm caught a touchdown with 9 seconds left to take the lead. Just saying. But I think that could be a fun one just because, again, it's in-state rivalry. I know that means a lot more to Central Arkansas than it does to Arkansas State, but they also don't want to lose to a smaller school in the same state. And Jamie, you can correct me. Arkansas State's not very good, right?
They should be improved over what they are, but that's not saying a lot. I don't think they're going to be very good. They've got a chance to probably be at best 3rd or 4th in the Sun Belt West. That's not the Sun Belt overall. So I don't think that's going to be an excellent team. A lot of their fans will tell you they're going to be really, really improved. I don't see it.
Fair enough. I like it.
So, yeah, there's a chance.
There's always a chance as long as you step onto the field. All right, guys, our final question here in the top 6 topics of the week. Jason Sorum wants to know, give us your top FCS upset over FBS and your top for sure FCS over FBS win for this season. He will again wanted to know like the top 5 ones, but for the sake of time, Jason, we just got our top ones. So what do you think? First off, just down memory lane, Jamie, what is the top FCS upset over the FBS? I don't know if you want to go personal with this one or if you want to go like what you actually think. What do you got?
For this year, shoot, I mean, Richmond at Virginia is going to be intriguing. That's kind of fun. Let's see. I was looking at them earlier, and I can't find the one I was looking at. There, whoever plays Buffalo, who plays Buffalo is going to beat them. Lafayette, Buffalo. Lafayette, a solid team, got a good running game. I think that's one that can happen. Look, week 2, Southern Utah goes to UTEP. Southern Utah almost beat Scotty Walden last year. They're going to go beat them at the sombrero-looking stadium this year. I think I put my faith in Coach that's going to happen. Let's see what else is out there. New Hampshire at UCF, that could be interesting. Obviously, the Dakota States, their games are going to be interesting. I don't know that like we said earlier, I don't think either one of them happens. There's just a lot that you're looking at. Eastern Washington, Nevada. What else? Let's see. I'm just scrolling it over here. Not a whole lot. I don't see a ton. Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky either be really good or really bad. I don't see a whole lot. Chattanooga, Georgia State's going to be interesting. That might be one. Georgia State, new coach, but it brought in a lot of transfers there. But I don't have a lot of faith in Georgia State still. So Chattanooga is a top 10 team in my ballot. I got to give them at least a fighting chance there. So there's a chunk for me.
What about all time? What do you think? What do you think's the all-time best FBS or FCS over FBS team? What's the win? Which one is it?
Just put it on a T for me. It's us beating Virginia Tech, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. Virginia Tech also did not lose another game that season after we beat them until they lost to
Boise.
Well, they lost to Boise the week before at FedEx Field.
Bums. Who loses at Boise?
Oklahoma. And then we beat them. And then they won every game, including they won the ACC, and they lost the Orange Bowl to Stanford and Andrew Luck. So people, obviously, the one behind you is famous. Behind us is famous there, that Michigan upset. But Michigan didn't wind up where Virginia Tech did. They were an okay team, and App State was coming off a national title and all that good stuff. And in the middle of their run, we were 6-5 that year. There you go. That's what I like to see. Look at that yardage. 235 yards, just killing it.
Oh, he loves it. Kyler, what do you think? What's the best all time for FBS upsets?
I mean, the ACC was absolutely trash. That's why they even lost at Boise. They lost a G5 team and an FCS team. That just shows how bad the ACC was that year. No, but Jamie's right. I mean, that is actually the best FCS upset. They were the highest ranked team at the end of the season. That's when it matters. But of course, the most iconic is a different thing. And App State's is still the most important upset. It's still the most iconic upset. It's still the biggest upset in terms of media eyes and everything it did for the FCS as a whole. So there's two different ways of looking at it. I mean, probably that Michigan team still beats Virginia Tech because the ACC sucks, but that's a whole different discussion. But no, I mean, I would agree with Jamie in terms of what actually happened on the field, what happened in the season. The team that finished ranked at the end of the year, who won their Power 4 conference or Power 5 conference, is probably a bigger upset in the grand scheme of things than the most iconic one. So I would say that. Now, FCS versus FBS upsets this season, I don't want to do that, Matt. So screw Jason. I want to do a different type of upset because this is my first show back. I take my own questions. I'm going Upper Iowa over Butler, baby. We're going that D2 over FCS upset. I don't even know if Upper Iowa is D2, but I like that name, Upper Iowa. So screw the FCS, screw the FBS. We're a D2 Fans Nation podcast, baby, or NAIA or D3 because I have no clue.
That's actually just Northern Iowa. They just changed their name to Upper.
Oh, my bad. My bad. That's their practice squad. And they would probably still beat a Pioneer League team. So
it's Blue Mountain State.
Yeah. But no, I actually, for the FCS, I like Central Arkansas over Arkansas State. I think that's going to mean a lot. I think Central Arkansas is in improvement mode. They by far have one of the more talented, weapons and offenses in all of the FCS in terms of individuals on the field. Can they put it together? Can they shock the world? Can they beat their in-state, big brother, if you will? I think they potentially can. I like that.
Yeah, most iconic, definitely with you, Kyler. Definitely got to be Michigan. In terms of importance to the FCS, it was this win here where North Dakota State in 2007 beat Central Michigan, the MAC champions in 2007. This team won the MAC, and NDSU beat them 44-14. Mind you, guess who's on this team?
JJ Watt,
Antonio Brown. And I'm believing JJ Watt was on this roster as well.
100%.
So did they play? Probably not. But that being said, this is a representation for all the FCS of that. The majority of the G5 is a joke. They should probably be in the FCS themselves or combined. And God bless the FCS and FCS football.
Why don't you show them that Portland State over Texas State game, 66-7 or some dog crap
also
number?
Beautiful.
Oh,
beautiful.
Brutal.
Portland State, I think they won 2 FBS games that year.
They beat Washington State as well. They still didn't make the playoffs, did they? Well, they didn't win the conference. Maybe they made the playoffs, but they did not win the conference.
That's bonkers. All right, guys. Well, we first 6 topics of the year off the bat makes us kind of hungry for you know what. FCS Fans Nation, if you love the FCS community as much as we do, then it's time to be part of the elite community for die-hard FCS fans. Welcome to FCS Gold. I'm sure you're listening to our podcast on YouTube. FCS Gold gives you access to our podcast ad-free from YouTube ads and free from the ad you're listening to right now. FCS Gold membership also gives you access to our Pick'em and Playoff Bracket challenges, which give you a chance to win $50 Visa gift cards. You also get guaranteed questions on the podcast, elite game threads, and a private Facebook page just for you, the admins, and other Elite Gold members. You need to be a member to gain all these great perks, and it's only 99 cents a month. You can join me, Kyler, Jamie, and other Elite fans now by using the link in the comment section of YouTube or finding the link on our Facebook and Twitter pages. It's your guys' passion and support that makes this whole thing possible. Come join FCS Gold today. Boom.
Taco King, coming to you from bright and sunny Fargo, North Dakota. It's time for a taco bet, and time for you losers to pay up.
Oh, the sweet voice of Mr. Brian Thompson, the Taco King. He's back, guys, and he's giving us taco bets. This one coming. Is this your creation, Kyler Neal? Is this you?
See.
Awesome. Well, we're getting right into the taco bets, guys, and we're starting it off strong with how many FCS versus FBS upsets will we see this season? The over-under is 9.5. Okay, really got a large, that'd be a lot of wins for the FCS. What do you think, Jamie, right off the bat? Over or under 9.5 upsets of the FCS?
I think I'm going to go under. I think it's going to be 6 or 7. I without just going through game by game, I'm going to say 6 or 7. It'd be cool if there was more, as long as it isn't Gardner Webb over Russ.
Well, just for some context, I'm not sure how you got the number there, Kyler, but I will say this. Last year, you looked at only 4 upsets of FCS over FBS. However, when you go the year before that, we go into 2022, we had 8 FCS over FBS upsets. And then you go to 2021, and it's more than that. It is a whopping 12. And the year before that, it was only 2, but that was COVID. So this 9.5, that's not too bad of a line. What do you think, Kyler? 9.5.
Well, I was counting through all of the ones that I think have a shot and that I think are actually going to win. So I said there was about 12 that a lot of people would say they at least have a shot. And that's including, Oklahoma State and the Colorados of the worlds too, where people are actually picking South Dakota State and North Dakota State in there. That's part of the 12 that I think have a realistic shot. But I counted 9. So that's why I set it for 9.5, because I think there's actually going to be 9. So I am going the under, but there's some shitty teams the FCS plays this year.
Well, after the Dakotas win both of theirs, that's 2, and those will be unexpected. So beyond that, come on. I'm not going to agree with you guys and go a clean sweep. No way. FCS, we're going with 11. We'll meet in the middle from those 2 seasons ago. 11 upsets this year of the FBS. Chaos Town coming to town just to make things more fun on the first year where we have seeds. So line up the tacos, Brian Thompson. We have a disagreement in week 0, I guess, going into week 1. I'm excited to eat those tacos with you guys, of course, down in Frisco, Texas. So feeding our bellies a little bit with the taco bet, that rolls us right into some quick hit questions for the year.
Just because your question is answered quickly doesn't mean we don't care. It's time for this week's quick hit questions.
Woo, rolling in with some brand new stuff this season. All right, boys, one of my favorite things to do is the quick hit questions, because they're kind of always off the wall. But we're not going to start that way. Here we go. We're going to start with you, Jamie. This is coming from Liam Maroney, FCS Gold contributor. Thank you, Liam. Does the Justice Perkins injury make the MSU New Mexico game a toss-up? Peter Belgardi also says, will it be considered an upset if Montana State beats the Lobos? Of course, Justice Perkins, the great center offensive lineman for Montana State, has started like 41 games in a row, I think. And he's possibly out for this game, or is out. Jamie, tell me a little bit more about that and what you think, if that has any impact at all.
It's definitely going to hurt, but I don't know that it's going to impact the game to that level, as I still have a solid, strong offensive line. They got a running game that's going to try to pound. And would it be considered an upset? Obviously, no, because they're favored. So it won't be an upset. But, yeah, the Perkins loss will hurt some, but I think they'll be fine.
All right, Kyler, Cody Werlinger, FCS Gold member, with Northern Colorado being 58 and 164 since 2003. Haven't won a conference game since 2022. Do they consider moving back down to D2? They haven't been able to have success like they did back in the D2 days. Okay, a team dropping down D2 because of a lack of success? What do you think?
It's actually more wins than I thought, so that's not that bad. No, here at the end of the day, people don't realize that Northern Colorado stinks as a football program. They used to not, but they stink. But they're not really a football program for an athletic. They have a solid basketball team. They have solid women's sports. They have a solid wrestling team. So at the end of the day, they're Division I through and through. They're more Division I than probably, your Idaho States, your Eastern Washingtons, some of these other Big Sky teams, because Northern Colorado actually has a little bit more in the pocketbook. They can actually invest more in other athletic avenues, just not football, and their football's lackluster right now. So no, they're fine. They're staying Division I.
Awesome. Great answer. The Rev, of course, a gold member. How many wins does Citadel need before you refer to them using the article the? So before we start applying the, Jamie, how many wins does Citadel need this season?
God, Rev's making the rounds with this question. You know what? We're going to respect our service academies, and we're going to call them the Citadel even with their 0 wins.
Ooh, I like that. Support for the troops. American.
Damn it,
That's
Rev.
pretty good. That's good. How critical is the McNeese game this week for their confidence the rest of the season? Asked Jason Plotkin. You kind of set up that softball question, Jamie. Kyler, what do you think? How big is that one?
Super important for both. I think that's the biggest impactful game in terms of week 0 and what these two teams are all about in terms of Tarleton and McNeese. So huge for McNeese. That if they beat Tarleton, that just sets them up for a pretty easy Southland Conference to where maybe they can build some momentum.
Awesome. Very cool. Alex Kenkel, Alex, our man, gold member, podcaster, great friend. What does Cam Miller have to do this year to win back some love from this fan base and not be considered the worst of the Bison Championship QBs? Peyton or bust, meaning Walter Payton, or is the Walter Payton Award not enough to elevate him due to the best case scenario being only 2 titles and 1-4 marker record? Well, Alex, on that last sentence, I got to get you a little bit. Only 2 titles is not such a bad thing in terms of the resume. Now, we know that Cam Miller may not have been the most.
All Gronowski has.
Yeah, he might not be the most needed player on that 2021 team, but I think not the Walter Payton, I think, is kind of irrelevant. I think if Cam Miller were to win the national title and lose the marker game, then of course, 2 titles. I guess he's the worst of the best, but 2 titles is a great legacy. Won a ton of games. He also overcame 2 FBS transfer QBs who were supposed to take his job, and as a young buck in the midst of COVID, fresh out of high school, just took that from Quincy Patterson. But more importantly, I really do want to say this about Cam. I've been a big Cam defender. The thing with him is if he loses the natty and wins the marker, I still don't think he's going to go down as some hated, awful Bison quarterback. Like, he knocked Gronowski down in the marker in his senior year. He got 1 title in 2021. He went through chaos against FBS quarterbacks. I don't know. Yeah, he would be the worst in terms of accomplishments, but that's still a pretty good resume to go out on. So I look forward to seeing what that matchup looks like in Fargo for him to get one last chance at Mark Gronowski, the guy. Is this many week 0 games good for the FCS or bad for the FCS, says Joshua Hoffman. What do you think, Kyler?
Neither. I mean, I really don't understand week 0. And why don't you just put it in week 1? But I mean, neither. It gives us football early. So, let's just watch football. Who cares?
Absolutely. Joshua, of course, a gold member. We're so excited to see you down in Frisco again, Josh. Great to be back in the hot seat. Thanks for asking the question. Andrew Markham, guys, an American. He has a few of questions. He just went on a roll. So this is going to be 3 fast ones from him. Who has the hottest seat in the nation to start the season? This is a really good question. What do you think? I see Kyler nodding here, so I'm going to go to Jamie, but Kyler, feel free to throw one in if you've got one. So what do you got, Jamie?
I think Kyler saw what I did. It's Nathan Brown of Central Arkansas. That guy, he's got to get it done this year. That school has done less with more in the last few years than anybody. They've had running back after running back after running back. They brought in solid transfer. They've had solid quarterbacks. They've got one of the top defensive players in the country. I got solid defense, and it hasn't mattered because they don't win the games. They got to now.
I'm gonna say the easy one is Aaron Best.
Aaron Best.
I mean, this is literally because this was a program that was getting 10 to 12,000 fans in a home game. They had consecutive 33 straight sellout games for their home, and now you look at the last few years, 2 losing seasons. That hasn't happened in a very long time. You look at the fan base. There was like 2,000 fans at most home games last year. This is his last year on his contract, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong on that. This is a make it or break it year. If he's not on the hot seat, if he doesn't win, his contract's probably just not getting renewed.
Yeah, the hot seat is going to become for a lot of people. I would say Jimmy Rogers at South Dakota State. You know, he hasn't lost a game, you know, all of last year, and then had a lot of coordinator, you know, assistants, and then winning the year before. If he loses to Oklahoma State, that'll be the first loss for South Dakota State in such a long time. And I think he's probably done after that game. They're probably going to let him go.
Riot.
Absolutely. Those Rabbit fans, they are giants. You don't want them rioting. Who outside the big 3 holds the best chance of making a run? Andrew Markham says. This is a really good one. Okay, Kyler, what do you think? Outside of the big 3 teams, who can make a run? Who's your team this year? Who's that squad?
I mean, I'm not going to say Central Arkansas because that's the easy cop-out answer that most people think. And I'm not going to say Furman either because that's Matt's pick. So he's going to do it. I'm saying Western Carolina. I'm saying their name twice. We're doing it.
Going with Western Carolina. There you go, Andrew. And finally, he says, who's taking Coach Fred up on going to an Alcorn game, and where are we staying? We are going to get this done one of these years. We are going to something besides Frisco. I guarantee it. What do you think? You think where are we going to stay when we're going to go see Coach Fred and go to an Alcorn game there, Jamie Williams?
I think Vicksburg, Natchez probably closest places, but that would be cool to get to an HBCU game like that. It's an Alcorn game. Coach Fred, I think they're going to have a real good team this year. I hope they do. I'd love to see Coach Fred have some success just because he's a good dude. Enjoyed spending some time with him. So, I root for people in the FCS these days.
I'll go hang out with Coach Fred on November 16th when Alcorn plays at Prairie View.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'll hit up Coach Fred. I'll get sideline passes.
Get her done. That's awesome. Okay, Coach Fred, be on the lookout. Last two here. Gretchen Williams. I don't know if we know this person.
She sounds hot, though.
Probably a really cool chick.
This must be, she probably takes shots in the tailgate parking lot when there's ice storms pretty well. That's going to be my assumption. Must be a badass person. So Gretchen Williams says, which FCS stadium has the best food that you've been to, and which teams have home signature cocktails, not beer? Very good question. So, well, I'll start with, there you go, Kyler. What do you think? Best FCS food you've had, and do you know of any that have signature cocktails?
I don't think I've ever eaten food at a stadium outside of maybe a hot dog, but Eastern is doing food trucks this year at all their stadiums at their home games.
That's dope.
So that's pretty sweet. So Rose's Pizza and stuff. But knowing at football games, I don't really drink cocktails. I just drink beer. So I'm sorry. I'm the worst person to pick for this. I don't eat food. I don't drink cocktails at football games.
No, you're good.
William Mary has a barbecue joint in their
nice.
zone.
Oh, that's
really?
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
One of the sponsors, yeah.
I don't know of any signature cocktails. I've only been for FCS games because of kiddos. I have been to the Fargo Dome and Frisco. So I guess that doesn't really help much. Maybe in a few years I'm going to get around a little bit more. Fargo Dome food is terrible. And I'm not sure of any signature cocktails. What do you think, Jamie? What do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I wonder if anybody has like a hottie toddy like Ole Miss, kind of like a hot toddy. That would be kind of cool. Obviously, lots of schools have beers, so it's a little interesting twist to that question.
Well, Tennessee State plays at an NFL stadium. I'm sure they have. Because half those NFL stadiums like have Chick-fil-A or random restaurants, Shake Shack. So that's not bad.
You would think so, but Gretchen Williams is also going to end our quick hits here, guys, with which FCS team has the worst colors? Oh, this is good. The worst color scheme that exists. Who is out there? First off, I give a shout out to Lawrence Smith, our good admin friend. I know he would probably say Florida A&M. He hates on those orange and greens, and I love them. I love those jerseys, but he'd probably say those ones. I hate to dog on them because I think they're cool and I like their feel and their vibe, but I think that the color scheme for like the Long Island University Sharks of like that yellow and weird old blue is just a weird, gross color combo. I think you could do so much more with a darker blue and a lot. I just really do not like that Long Island combo that they throw together. So I guess that kind of hurts Southern a little bit too, the Jags, but it is what it is. Who's the worst one out there?
For me, it's Lehigh. It's all brown and gross. And it's just, so what? Pick something else.
Delaware State, red and blue. Like, that just doesn't match. Go red and black. Go blue and something else. Yeah, Delaware State is
Man, we're ending on just such a negative note, but that's okay. Great question. I love it. Gentlemen, that does end the quick hit questions. It ends the questions for our week 0/1 podcast. Again, unfortunately, we probably we'll have our bye week really early in the year. And after that, we will every single week have an episode for you. So buckle up, don't unsubscribe. Make sure you stay hooked up with us here. Guys, reminder, make sure if you are loving this podcast and if you're listening on YouTube right now and you're sick of clicking skip, and if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, and you're sick of the FCS Gold promo ads, you can eliminate all ads by joining FCS Gold. in the YouTube video in the description below, you will find the link to Patreon. Also on our Facebook and Twitter page, you will find that link as well. 99 cents a month. If you want to be part of the Pick'em Challenge, the deadline is next. We're coming up next week, I think, for our Pick'em Challenge. And that's a chance to win a $50 Visa gift card. FCS Gold only has like 28 people in it right now. So like your odds of winning that competition are really, really good. And you only have to be subscribed for the 5 months. Then you can cancel and come back later if you want. And the bracket challenge is going to be accessible in December as well. Lots of other perks, private pages, things like that. But again, FCS Gold, 99 cents a month. It's a pretty good deal. We'd love to have you come hang out with us more in depth. So I'll give you the floor, Jamie. We're coming up on some week 0, week 1 action. What do you think before we roll out for these individuals in FCS Fans Nation?
I think it's been a long off season, and I think it's time to get going. Let's get it going.
Let's get her going. Mr. Neal, any final thoughts before we watch the kickoff of college football?
I missed you guys. So no, that just, it means whenever I see your ugly faces, it just means football's here, baby. So no, man, I'm so excited. New year, new me, new you, new everyone, new teams, hopefully different faces in Frisco. We'll have to see. But yeah, let's go football, baby.
Let's go football. It is going to be a ton of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. We're kicking off next week. We hope you enjoyed it. Give us a like, subscribe, and a follow. And we're going to see who's going to be matching up in a very short time as we Heidi on ho, tiptoe down.
He can't even remember his line.
I still got it. Catch you on the next one. Boom. Thank you for listening to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe on YouTube. To listen ad-free and enjoy many other perks, join FCS Gold for only 99 cents a month by using the link in the description below. Make sure to follow FCS Fans Nation on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for listening to the premier podcast for FCS football.
Is that better or worse? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I think both look good.
I think you look good.